What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Fantasy Football RPG podcast. I'm here with my great co-host, Mike, as always. How are you doing, my man?
I'm fantastic. We're right in the thick of rookie season, and I love talking about these prospects, arguing about these prospects, but I've grown a little bit in the last year. I'm ready to be wrong. I'm not going to stick to my player takes as strongly, but I am going to lean in where I have a strong feeling.
Look at that, Mike. I appreciate a little bit of growth. I just turned 30, as you may have known. So, I'm growing older as well here. But some of you might notice we have somebody else on the screen tonight. This is our good friend, Jake. Mike, turn to the other side, please, sir. It looks like you're wearing something that might be a little heavy over there, Jake.
Yeah.
What you got on?
I'm not 30 yet. So I'm still ready to go to war. So I've got my entire chest rig on. I got body armor plates in. Everything's loaded. I'm ready to go. I got a tourniquet even, just in case. I'm ready to go to war for some of these players.
That's awesome. Well, we appreciate having you here, Jake. And for those that haven't figured it out, haven't put it together yet, Jake is going to be a new co-host of the show for the time being. As long as he'll be here rocking with us, we will happily have him as a co-host to get through the summer, to get through this rookie season, and hopefully continue to get through next NFL season. But with that, what are you here for tonight? You're here for rookie rankings. All right, so we're going to go through a tier maker list. Mike's got that fired up here. We're going to go through. You got the 101. If anybody tells you the 101 is anything different than this man, Ashton Genty, they're wrong. Don't listen to them. Just unsubscribe. Move on from their show. Move on from their podcast, their Twitter. Just move and come over here. All right. We're here to make you feel good about all of these draft picks, but we got some other tiers here that we're going to talk about. We got the early first pick. So these are going to be guys valued with a early first that we think you should be using high draft capital on. We got mid to late first. All right. We feel like there's a relatively good tier distinction here. And then we got second rounders and third rounders. I know some of you might be out there. Oh, well, my 201 is so much more valuable than my 210. All right, we understand. This is why we're doing a large grouping of the tier. You'll hear us talk about in the show what all is going down within that tier. But we appreciate you being here. And Jake, as our esteemed guest, now that I took the best player in this draft already off the board, who do you want to put up there?
Yeah, I mean, Cam Ward absolutely deserves to be up there. I know a lot of people want to dog on his profile. I truly don't get it. I think he's been my quarterback one in this class for a couple of years now. I think a lot of people are just kind of treating it like they did Justin Herbert out of Oregon. Like the offense, I think the offense let him shine, but I don't think it took the best parts of his game into consideration in a lot of ways. And I think it's pretty clear Ward's, I think now the betting favorite to be the 101. He's got a private workout coming up with Tennessee. So yeah, if you're waiting to take Cam Ward past anything other than 102, you're giving value away, especially in Superflex.
Yeah, love the call out, Jake. Let's also remember Tennessee signed some offensive linemen this year. So it may not be a bunch of turnstiles out there. They may be able to give whoever their quarterback ends up being, 2.5, maybe 3 seconds to actually throw the ball this year, which would be great to be able to see. Mike, you have any thoughts?
I would like to propose something, and this is a new thought to me. I've gone through this whole draft cycle saying the quarterbacks aren't that great. Don't worry about it. The quarterbacks aren't that great. Don't worry about it. Look, I love Cam Ward's game, and I love the killer effect that he has. If you guys haven't watched the prospect profile series on him, go check that out. Let's say he goes 101 to Tennessee, and then we see them truly attack their offense through the rest of the draft. We're talking they're taking interior offensive linemen. They're taking maybe another depth tackle. They take, let's throw out Jaden Higgins, Alec Ayomanor, a couple of those like mid-tier wide receivers that we feel pretty strongly could be good. Would there be consideration for either of you to take him 101 in a Superflex league?
No.
It's in this draft cycle, if I were planning to take Cam Ward 101, I would just try and trade the 101 for a 102 and get anything that I can on top of it.
Okay.
Be it hopefully it's a second. If somebody's that badly wanting Genty at the 102, maybe they're going to pay me, a little bit more than that. I'll take a future pick even. It's just one of those things where like the clear 101 tier is Genty. So anything past that, if you want to take somebody else in that at the top or at the top of that tier, trade back and get that extra value.
Just wanted to throw that thought process out there.
I like it though.
I'm on the same page, but there's people at home that are wondering. I'll just go ahead real quick. I'm going to put my boy up there, Omarion Hampton. Look, if Genty didn't exist, we'd be all fired up about Omarion Hampton. Great counting stats, absolute thumper, ball security, yards after contact. All like this is just Najee Harris with rocket boosters on his feet in a complimentary way. So yeah, he's not the sexiest pick in the world. Like he's not the Jahmyr Gibbs where he has sick dreadlocks and he's breaking 19 tackles on his way to outrun 9 people. But like he's going to be a workhorse in the NFL. There's first round consideration. I think that he's very worthy of an early first.
Okay. Appreciate the takes, Mike.
I would have put RB2 up there before RB3 personally, but
it's all look. I like your RB2 too, so we'll get into that later.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with the wide receiver 1 in this class. If anybody tells you the wide receiver 1 is anything other than Tet McMillan,
this is why I wear body armor.
Yep. Here it comes. Here it comes.
They are not watching enough of what he did with Noah Fafita, because Noah Fafita was horrendous this past season.
Certified cheeks.
He put the team on his back. All right. Tet said, if it's not going to me, then we're not doing anything. So he knows what it's like to be relied on, to be able to have to make every play on the outside, to be able to have to come down with the 50-50 balls, to be able to truly go against double coverage, to go against the inside out coverage, to be bracketed all over the field. He saw that in college already. Yes, it is not the insane wide receiver class that we are used to. Get over it. Tet is still the wide receiver 1 in this class. He is still deserving of a early first round pick.
This is Ja'Cory Krosky merit erasure, and I won't stand for it. But no, I like Tet a lot, but I know Jake has another wide receiver 1, so we'll let you just go ahead and ooze about him real quick.
Yeah, the wide receiver 1 in this class is Emeka Egbuka. I mean, I understand what Tet's done. I understand the situation with the offense, the quarterback, everything about it. Egbuka is a more complete wide receiver to me. He's been everybody's wide receiver 1 in this class essentially since his freshman year. Like we've been raving about this guy for years now. Tet flew onto a lot of people's radars last year. This year, we still love him. I think they're a tier of wide receiver. I don't think Egbuka is like his own tier of wide receiver like Genty is his own tier of running back. I just think Egbuka is more likely to succeed in an NFL offense because I think he's a little bit more versatile, and we can see Egbuka used in, I don't want to compare him to Amon-Ra St. Brown, but in a similar role where you can line him up in the slot as like a bigger power slot guy. You can put him outside. He can flex around. I don't know that Tet has that same capability. And I just worry that we see Tet fall into more of that Jordan Addison tier, whereas I think Egbuka can kind of be, a younger 3 years ago, even younger than that 3 years ago, Keenan Allen type wide receiver that just gets by on a ton of volume and offers more after the catch, I think, than Keenan did.
Yeah. I mean, Evan and I talked about it. We think Egbuka is a no-fail prospect, super high floor. He's going to stick around the NFL for a while. Evan, any concerns with him as the early first?
Yeah, early first, I wouldn't be putting him in that category. I'd be putting him in that mid to late first category. Personally, he's still my wide receiver 2 in the class, though, Jake. It just should tell you how much more I appreciate and love these running backs and how the tight end class is even factoring into these first round picks.
Yeah, I mean, I get it and I understand it. I just think Egbuka deserves to be in this tier of player. I think, like I said, he's my wide receiver 1. I would take him before I'd take Tet. I would take him as early as the 102 pretty comfortably. So for me, it's just I get Tet probably has the higher upside. Ceiling is probably like more athletic. I don't know if more athletic's the right term. Higher upside T. Higgins, like, second half of last year T. Higgins, not so much first half of last year T. Higgins. I just, like I said, I just worry about the overall skill set of Tet. I think a lot of people are overrating or, overhating, I should say, his skill set and are just bored and looking for reasons to be mad at him as a prospect. It's just, again, the Justin Herbert thing. We love these guys forever. We got to find a reason to hate him eventually. And I think that's where we're at. Egbuka is just comfortably my guy.
I love both of these prospects. I vote we're going to keep them in the early first, but landing spot's going to dictate a lot because let's say one of them ends up on the Steelers. Let's say one of them ends up on the Chargers and gets a huge boost. Let's say one of them ends up in Cincinnati, Arizona. Like there's a couple of places where it could get really freaky in there. So pure talent. I like the floor of Egbuka. I like the ceiling of McMillan. As the judge, as the third person here, I'll call it. Is it my turn now, Evan?
Yeah, Mike, come on.
All right. Well, I'll just go ahead. I'll take the RB3 in the class. I'll put him. I also think
RB2.
early first consideration. Depending on the update of my roster, how it's looking, like I think between Hampton, Henderson, and then landing spot dependent for the other two in the top 5, like these are just running backs that I want to chase, running backs that I'm excited about. And I feel good with an early first round grade on basically everyone in this tier right now. Does anyone disagree?
I alluded to it. This is my RB2,
Yep.
and I think he's closer to Genty than Hampton is in terms of fantasy upside. I think Hampton is the safer prospect. I think it's kind of the thing we're talking about with my thoughts on McMillan and Egbuka. I think Hampton is safer. I think Henderson could be a game changer fantasy player. And he's an elite pass blocker, and I don't think people give him enough credit for that. So he will stay on the field consistently.
I'm going to put together a little mashup of that, which I did that for Ollie Gordon. I put clown music over it. It's a very different vibe.
Understand, Mike. Understand. All right. I am out of anybody that I value as a early first round player. Is there anybody else that you guys would like to add to this list before we move on to the mid to late first?
Early in the process,
because I'm pretty clear.
Burden would have been closer, but there's buzz that he could fall out of the first round. Hunter, we did the prospect profile on him. If he goes to a place where we're pretty confident he's playing wide receiver, I think he's also in there, but I'm good calling it as it is.
Same. Yeah. I just, for the longest time, I didn't even rank Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
He would be my wide receiver 3 in this class, probably pushing Tet for wide receiver 2. I just don't think he's going to play a ton of wide receiver in the NFL.
Oh, if you told me that Hunter was going to play over 75% of the offensive snaps, I might at this point be pushing him to 1 at my wide receiver, but he's very clearly 2, pushing it down if he does that. But it's fine, Mike. You can.
Yeah,
we're just going to make a Travis Hunter tier. Okay. Travis Hunter is the clear wild card.
Yeah.
Where he goes in your rookie draft is very much going to be dependent on the reports that come out of whatever team drafts him. People are going to be looking at the depth chart of whatever team drafts him, trying to figure out, hey, is he going to be a wide receiver 1, a wide receiver 2? Is he going to have to be the cornerback 1? Is he going to be the cornerback 2? Is he going to be able to be the 2 on both sides of the ball, which may give him more snaps that he can take off where they can rotate someone else in to that position? It'll be a really interesting draft cycle to see what happens to Travis Hunter because he will be an absolute wild card in your drafts.
Yeah, it is what it is with him. It's unfortunate. I mean, honestly, we're doing this at a great time just because, like, even consensus mock drafts for the NFL draft are shifting so heavily. Like, if you look at the NFL mock draft database, there's not a wide receiver in the first round. Tet, Egbuka, and Burden are all out of the first round over the last week anyway. So, if Hunter goes somewhere where he could, fringe in as a, wide receiver 3 in certain sets year 1, I think people are going to overdraft him. He's an avoid for me, but I understand the love.
See the vision. Evan, you want to put up another name? I feel like we hijacked the Hunter one.
Okay, yeah, Hunter. At this point, look, one Travis Hunter in that mid to late first range, assuming that he's going to get at least 50% of the offensive snaps. That should be the range that he goes in. But this is my Penn State guy. This is Tyler Warren. Even if you tell me there is no premium, we are still talking a mid to late first round pick. He is a potential difference maker. He is a guy that could have a future as a top 6 tight end for multiple seasons because of his versatility, because of his job on the line. He's able to stay in on all downs. He's a former quarterback, which makes it all the better because he is a quarterback's best friend as a former quarterback, understands what they're going to be looking at, how they're going to be seeing the defense. And he's got fantastic hands. He uses his body incredibly well. He gets himself open. He's faster than linebackers, bigger than safeties, most definitely bigger than corners. Okay.
Jeremy Shockey, next.
I could see it. Honestly, a lot of similarities there.
All right.
I would honestly be comfortable pushing him early first if he wasn't old. It's really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
He's just a little bit old.
Let's get running here. Jake, mid to late first. Who else you got in this tier?
I'm going to go with Matthew Golden. He's really flown up a lot of people's draft boards. I've always been a little bit higher on him than consensus. I think the athletic profile plays super well. The skill set, obviously, Texas's offense is never going to give us a great example of what players are capable of in the NFL. It's just not great. Like, let's be honest. It's your typical college offense. Like every once in a while, we get a flash of some pro style stuff. Otherwise, it's pretty meh. But I mean, we're talking about a guy who has the athleticism to beat man coverage, even though he wasn't really asked to do it a ton. As you know, a true vertical threat. He can play outside. He can play in the slot. You can line him up in the backfield and do some weird stuff with him. You know, he's pushing an 80% or 80th percentile win rate versus zone coverage. Basically elite on almost all vertical and horizontal routes. Like, don't ask him to do a comeback. He can't do that. But just about anything else that you ask him to do, he can do. And I think his athletic testing really surprised a lot of people. Didn't really surprise me. But dude's good. I think he's what people hoped Xavier Worthy was.
I mean, his athletic testing shouldn't have surprised too many people because if I remember correctly, Prize Picks opened him up at a 4.31, somewhere around there. So yeah, people thought that he was fast, and then he got steamed to be, he's slow, and then shocker, he ran fast. But moving right along, Mike, who else you got in this tier?
Yeah, I'll just keep. If you guys have listened to the pod before, running backs. Listen, I did a Judkins film study. I didn't walk away as impressed. I think it's boiling down to there's Genty, then there's Hampton and Henderson, and there's Judkins and Johnson, each with their own specific tiers. And then we'll see how draft capital and landing spot shakes those out. But he's going to be a very good early down grinder. He's way better in pass pro than people give him credit for. I just wish he would stop trying to alligator arm catches.
Yeah. Great to hear. Very valid points. I'm going to go with a guy that's dropped a little bit since the combine in Caleb Johnson. More attainable price at this point. Iowa running back. We know what Iowa running backs do. They produce in college. They get given a heavy workload. He's shown that he can carry that heavy workload. He's shown that he has some hands out of the backfield. He's shown that he can run through tackles. That Iowa offensive line, people think that it's always a great offensive line. It was a very middling offensive line this past season. So he did have to do a chunk of work to be able to get the explosive plays that he did this past season.
Yeah, you're telling me that I can get a 21-year-old that's built like a bowling ball at the 110, 111? Sign me up.
Yep. All right, Jake.
I also want to say underrated part of Caleb Johnson's game. He didn't fumble last year.
Yeah.
Like, you want to talk about one of the most secure ball handlers in the game? It's Caleb Johnson. And if you were expecting anything more than him being like fancy David Montgomery, you were asking for too much anyway.
We love fancy David Montgomery.
We do. I do.
Jake, I'm assuming looking at you right now, I'm seeing your wheels turning. You probably got someone else to go in this tier, don't you?
I do. I just don't know if I actually want to do it.
Do it.
But I think I'm going to do it. It's going to depend on draft capital and if he sneaks into the first round. I think Jackson Dart's quarterback 2 in the class.
Seconded. All right. So I'm gonna hop over Jake real quick. I'm deeply sorry. Before we were doing draft capital projections and things like that, I had Jackson Dart as quarterback 2. And then you start hearing the buzz. Shedeur Sanders is definitely going 2 overall. It's Shedeur. Look, if Shedeur goes number 2, I'm going to have to eat some crow. If Jackson Dart goes in the second, yes, I will follow the draft capital there. But at that point, I'm pushing both of them way down. Jake, I'm on board.
I will say consensus mock draft database right now has Jackson Dart going 21st overall to the Steelers.
With DK Metcalf and George Pickens? That's a good landing spot.
I'm just saying. I honestly, probably the most underrated quarterback landing spot in the class. It's not often teams are picking that late, and a rookie quarterback can come in and start right away. Dart can do that.
Yep.
Plus, it means they don't have to pay Aaron Rodgers, which would be funny.
So we'll put a little anecdote on here. If you just see the screenshot, you won't know. But if Jackson Dart goes in the first round, mid to late first, this is the Bo Nix corollary to draft capital.
It's one circle.
All right, Mike. Well, you jumped over Jake to talk a little bit here about Jackson Dart. So we'll give you another chance to try and add somebody to this mid to late first if you feel like anybody else deserves to be there.
I would like to put, and this is why we talk about the early seconds being worth more. We already have, 6? We're already at 12, but I'm going to put Luther Burden up there. Look, I understand the concerns. People think that he's a gadget guy, yada, yada, yada. He moves different. He's built like a tank. He can run after the catch, and he runs a more diverse route tree than people give him credit for. You just have to go back and dig. If you look at just the 2024 tape, obviously it looks disgusting. The whole Mizzou offense looked disgusting. Kid can play. I'm on board. Any concerns?
Production. No. People are slapping him down because of the production. If you think that Brady Cook was not the reason why the production slipped, you are a fool.
I got some beans to sell you.
All right. Well, cool. I'm gonna take charge here and finally put Shedeur Sanders in that mid to late first. Look, the hype is there. The name is there. Even if I don't think that he is a great quarterback as a prospect, slightly lesser Tua is where I currently think he's going to slot in. He has the name cachet. He is going to have dynasty gamers that are going to see the name. They're going to want the name. He's going to be able to hold value for you. And when you're taking somebody in the late part of the first, I'm not saying he's a mid first by any way, shape, or form. We're talking that 110 to 112 range. If you're deciding between Luther Burden and a quarterback in a Superflex league that should have at least a couple seasons of quarterback 2 numbers, that is a valuable asset that you will be able to get off of if you don't want them anymore. So give me Shedeur Sanders.
The Kenny Pickett corollary.
I was about to say, people were arguing that Kenny Pickett was good for like 3 years with me. He wasn't. I don't care if Sanders ends up being just slightly better than Kenny Pickett. People were arguing with me that he's worth a first plus that Pickett was worth a first plus for multiple years after we knew he was garbage. So,
to be clear, Sanders is a better prospect than Pickett.
Oh, 100%.
But like, not by that much, which is tough.
I've hit the end of my tiers of this first round tier. Mike, Jake, you guys have anybody else that you would like to try and shove up into this first round? Mind you, we already have over 12 players in this first round.
I have one more name in mind. Jake, do you have anybody?
You say yours, and we'll see if it's the same.
It's Colston Loveland. I mean, guys, he's a good tight end. I was less impressed than I thought I would be, but I think the hype around him, the excitement around him, he's probably going in the first round. Worst case scenario, you throw a late first, early second at him. He doesn't pan out. You find the Michigan fan in your league. You go flip him for the exact same price you just bought him for. It would be hard for me to pass on him at the 203, 204, which is that same tier of people. There are other people I would rather prioritize, which are the guys that we have ahead of him, but I think he's in the same consideration. And with draft capital and landing spot in mind, he could easily jump a couple of guys.
Argument against Mike is if we're talking a no tight end premium, if we're talking a 0.25 tight end premium, even if we're talking a 0.5 tight end premium, the tight ends historically don't get steamed up in the startup drafts nearly as much as if you're saying it's a full point premium, at which point, yes, Colston Loveland is clearly in the first round consideration. 0.75, sure, he's clearly in that first round consideration, but I would very much like to stand for him being a further pick down the road for us here.
Jake, final decision.
Yeah, I'm on Mike's team here. Loveland's a dog. I don't even like Michigan. I joke that it seems like all my friends are Michigan fans, and I'm a Notre Dame fan. So we just argue about tight ends all the time. And then, I guess Chase Claypool. But he probably should have been a tight end. But Loveland's a dog. He absolutely – my opinion here, if Luther Burden is in first round consideration, Loveland is too. I think they're that level of game changer at their position if they hit ceiling.
Cool. Okay. Well, cool. So wrapping it up, first round, we have the 101 Ashton Genty. We have the early first consideration in Cam Ward, Amarion Hampton, Emeka Egbuka. We have Travion Henderson, and then we also have Tet McMillan in there. We have the crazy what's going to happen, where's he going to go, Travis Hunter tier. Just make it your wild card. That's your Joker tier. Anything could happen. You never know when the Joker's in play. So mid to late first tier, we have Tyler Warren. We have Matthew Golden. We have Quinshad Judkins. We have Caleb Johnson. We have Jackson Dart with a surprise appearance here. Shador Sanders, Luther Burden, and Colston Loveland all joining that first round tier. Any other thoughts on the first round, guys?
No, I mean, it's a deep-ish class. I think the cutoff between the Henderson or Hunter, depending on how that goes, and the rest of the class is tough. And then it just bleeds over for a while. I think this next tier is going to get real gross real quick.
I disagree on that part. I think this tier gets really fun really quick.
We're going to have a lot of names that we all have a very good argument for. So gross, fun. You'll get
It's why I wore body armor. I'm ready to go to war.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Football RPG Podcast. If you made it this far, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to check out written content, head over to lastwordonsports.com.
Don't let the Goblins get you.